Sooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back. This is the Just Okay Sports Podcast. That is just Oklahoma sports podcast and just a very average podcast. I'm Daryl. That's Troy. That's Jared. And we do not claim to be journalists. We do not claim to have inside information at all. We are just fans who try to give you our opinion without a paywall, without a subscription or any of those things. But please do subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star review and do the follows and all the things because we'd appreciate it and it would lift our self-esteem. Done with all that. Troy.
Did you just say it would lift our self-esteem?
Yes, I did.
All right. How many? Because I haven't checked in a while. How many people on average listen to our podcast?
It's under 1,000. How about that?
All right, I'm gonna have to get numbers off air.
Under a million, Troy. Under a million.
Under a million.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's under a million. Yeah.
No.
We're trying to catch up to LeBron and JJ Redick right now. That's where we're trying to get to. So.
Oh, okay. Real quick, real talk.
Oh boy.
Their podcast is kind of fascinating. It honestly is. Like, I'm watching it, I listen to it every once in a while, and just the kind of stuff they go through, they talk at a very high level a lot of times of basketball play, and that kind of stuff is fascinating to me.
Yeah, JJ Redick is oddly more entertaining than I thought he would be in that space. I mean, I really do like listening to all of his stuff, like all of his different podcasts and things, and the way that he breaks things down and approaches things. I love when he goes on shows like Stephen A. Smith and just obliterates them and does not care at all.
I don't agree with probably, I don't know, 30-40% of what he says, but he is entertaining, and what he does is he frames it in, like, from a perspective like, I was there, this is why, and he always has reasons behind, not just having blanket statements like a lot of these talking heads have.
Yes. No, he gives an educated answer, whether it's what you like or agree with or what, that's whatever, but he does have a reason for why he believes what he believes, that, like you said, as opposed to I'm just gonna throw this out there, and run with it.
Well, he's not just trying to the clickbaity thing. That's like the thing with podcasts, right? Like Daryl does that all the time. So anyway,
my
JJ,
God.
come on to the podcast, dude. We'll have a good old time.
Absolutely. Would love to talk some more Thunder talk, which them breaking down the offense of the Thunder that I saw today on Twitter was pretty interesting. So it's good stuff. Jared, how are you, sir?
Doing good. I didn't know if I was going to be on the pod because it was like storming like crazy. My power flashed like 3 or 4 times.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's like mostly passed. It's still raining really hard, but like the thunder and lightning's passed. But yeah, I'm good. It's been a crazy week. Been honestly, since we got back from the trip, I've kind of just been like crazy busy, just like nonstop stuff every day. But finally got my passport Monday, which was exactly 3 weeks from the time that I ordered it, which was wild. And I got my ID card. So I didn't even realize. So all I did, like, whenever I was doing the paperwork, I ordered the ID card, right? And they just told me, like, it makes it easier to do, like, if you have border. And I was like, it was like $50, and it's good, I think, for like 10 years also or something. And I was like, whatever. Like, it's $50. I don't want to have to come up here and do a bunch of paperwork to get one later. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's fine. And went ahead and did it. I didn't realize it's like an RFID thing. So when you pull up to a border, like if I was crossing the border, I could just pull up. They have special readers, and you pull up and you just scan it. They don't have to have somebody like come out to your car and check your passport and all that. You just pull up to the thing and scan it, and then you drive right through. So
nice.
Actually kind of cool. So yeah, anyway, that's the boring, exciting stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's really been, the weather's been like super weird here. It's been like warm mostly, but we're getting to where, like, I don't know, it's like usually right now we're in the yellow snow, where it's just like pollen like is just literally coating everything.
Yes.
But I think like the weather's been so like erratic around us, and it has been like we've had a little more cool weather and stuff. It's just like nothing knows what to do right now, and everybody's like acting so weird. So yeah, but yeah, everything's good. So just ready for like we were talking about baseball started. I'm super into hockey now, by the way, since we went to the game. So I'm like watching the playoff race and stuff because we're almost at the end of the season.
Yeah, right.
Um, so yeah, I've been watching a couple. It sucks though. You would think like I live in Orlando, hockey's huge down here. And you would think like I live in Orlando, I'm like an hour and a half from Tampa. You think I would be able to get like the Tampa Bay Lightning? Dude, I only think like the next game I can get is like I can get like to watch like 2 of their remaining games
Yeah.
out of like
Hockey
6.
does not have a lot of space on the airwaves television wise still right now.
But I am hyped for the playoffs because it is. I know Troy's shaking his head, but dude, it is so much like going to that game was so much fun.
Oh, it was a
I
blast.
Oh,
playoff hockey.
I love hockey. I don't watch it enough. I watch my Red Wings, the results every day. Every day I get the results. I look at the stats, all that every day.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even realize our boy Tyler that went with us, he's a Dallas Stars fan. And the Dallas Stars were like the top of their division or whatever. So
Tyler's annoying because when we would have some like draft event, like at his house or something like that, around the playoff time, he would a lot of times opt to put the Stars game on over the Thunder game. That was annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So he's pretty diehard that way. So, well, very good. Well, the only thing going on in my world's been crazy busy, and I have a 15-year-old as of today, and that's a weird thing to say. So, for me.
you're gonna have to like get like 4 jobs to start saving up for a car to buy for her next year.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why it's
Car permit. Come on, baby.
oh, I know. I gotta start paying for driving school this summer as well. So I've had
Yeah,
to
you
start
do.
researching all that. That's been a blast. So, but let's get off all of the boring old man talk and let's get into some OU football to start today for our Just Oklahoma Sport podcast. Let's start with really bad news because we like to work our way to positive news, don't we? But the bad news is this: the projected starting center for the Oklahoma Sooners will be having surgery this week to repair an injured knee. Does not sound super favorable. There's a lot of conflicting reports. BV in his post practice interview said they thought that he might be able to start practicing again after fall camp, but he didn't really give a timeline. There are others saying that they know exactly what the injury is and that it's 5 to 7 months of recovery before you're going strong again. So I would say it's probably more likely than not that Troy Everett's not really a fixture into this season. So, Jared, I will start with you. How do you feel about losing our starting center?
I mean, it's not good. I mean, even if he's back, you just can't like being a starting center. I just feel like that's so many reps to lose. I just can't see how he's going to be able to work his way back in time. So I think they're, obviously going to have to go another route. I don't think I feel like people are trying to put some sort of hopeful spin on it. It's like, really, I just don't see how that's feasible at this point. Even if he recovers and is back by fall camp, it's like, well, he missed a ton of spring ball, right? And there's way too much to miss. So not good. I'm interested to see what they're going to do. There's a lot of time. I guess the good news is if it's going to happen, it's better to happen now. It'd be a really bad situation, ironically, if they went through all the way to fall camp and then this happened. So
yeah,
maybe now they can move somebody over, get those guys some reps and try to get some depth. But yeah, I mean, it's just we've talked about it. The O line and the D line are the big question marks. So losing a major part of what's going to be that unit is just not good. There's no way
What is the backup plan there? What is the backup plan?
Josh Bates, I would think, is probably first on the backup list at center. And then the Garen Hatchett kid from Washington that transferred in has already been mentioned by Brent Venables as someone who can play center. And then I also know the Edmond Santa Fe freshman, Josh Isosa, has been also taking snaps at center. But the number one option right now would be Josh Bates. So I believe a redshirt freshman, or sophomore. I'm not sure what his full designation is, but that's your option right now. But then after that, who knows what we got? So, Troy, how you feel about that?
I mean, why would anybody feel good about an offensive line already being questioned as the by far? I mean, it's 1, 2, and 3. The offensive line, that's the worry for
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
So, like, no, it's not great, but in BV, I trust.
Facts. And, look, as much as I've not been a all sunshine and rainbows person, I mean, Bedenbaugh is a developer. So you got to just hope that he takes a Josh Bates or a Hatchett and is able to turn something, turn nothing into something, right? Going up. Now, what discourages me the most is I think Troy Everett is a guy that plays hard. I think he's smart, all those things. But from an athletic standpoint, length standpoint, all those things you talk about, he does not fit the mold of an SEC lineman. And it sounds like he was basically markered in with a Sharpie to start at center. It doesn't make me feel great that somebody that couldn't overtake him is what we're having to rely on right now. So we'll see. And then obviously I would believe with all that's in me that the transfer portal is going to be something that is going to be hit hard by the staff to try to fill this hole. So, but that's really the only like super bad news. So that's great on some levels. That's the only thing that we're really dealing with that's negative. The good news that we transition to is Torrey Blaylock, 2025 running back, 5'10", 195 pounds. 4-star, depending on what service you can find him. He's anywhere from a top 20 running back to a top 10 running back in the nation in his class. Dad was a NFL guy. He is also a member of a national record holding 4x100 relay. So that tells you he can really get it. As far as speed goes, he commits to the good guys last Friday with an epic horns down ceremony. If you did not see it, it was well worth your time to check it out. And so, Troy, have you got a chance to watch any of Mr. Blaylock's film? And I can already tell by the face that that's a no.
No, I've not. I just read the stats that he's like a 4.4 guy, one of the fastest guys in the class already. So yeah, good job.
Sawchuck's replacement is here. So, Jared, have you got a chance to check anything out about Blaylock?
Yeah, I mean, I watched a little bit of his film. Like I watched his huddle and some of that stuff, and I mean, yeah, he's just got that speed. I mean, it's even like I would even say that with some of his runs, it's that sudden speed. You know what I mean? It's just it's. I think people underestimate like 40 times are obviously a great metric, but at the same time, it's like you have those guys that just have crazy top end speed. It just takes them a minute to get there. And with him, it's like he has a little bit of both. He has that sudden step and he can just flat out burn you. So, um, really, really like this film. I mean, and honestly, like obviously, like I said, we talked about this. I think it was the last pod. DeMarco's earning that paycheck. So he got that bump in pay. They kept him on staff. He put out the Yamaha. Maybe that was, maybe him staying to OU was a big reason Blaylock committed, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's again just I think we've talked about this a lot is getting him in and developing him. If DeMarco can get a couple of guys like that, like he really only has Eric Gray on his resume. You see a guy like this, and it's like that's a guy that if DeMarco can get in, maybe put a little bit of weight on even, if he can keep that speed, dude, it could be he could be a deadly weapon. So
Right.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think some things to put in perspective, right? So the first thing I thought about when I looked at kind of his tape is, it looks like he could put on some more weight. But for instance, I think we all agree when you see the photos and when you see in person Caleb Hicks, he looks like an SEC running back, right? Like he is built for days and just looks that way. He is only 5'10", 215. Okay. And he's in his second year in a college football nutrition and weightlifting program. You've got Blaylock, who hasn't even started his senior season at 5'10", 195, and he's one of the fastest people in the country. So the speed is on a whole other level from Caleb Hicks. If he can get up to 205, even 210, I think you really are working with something special. If you've watched much of his 7-on-7 stuff's mainly what I've seen recently. That's like really recent. His route running, catching out of the backfield is tremendous. And if he can get any kind of power at all in his run game, at 5'10, 205, 210, man, that's a load. And it's a load that if he breaks it, he's going to the house. And so I'm really excited about the get. And then that puts you in a position most likely where Javante Barnes is still here. You're going to most likely have Caleb Hicks still here, Taylor Tatum still here, Xavier Robinson still here, and then Blaylock. I mean, yes. I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, DeMarco Murray is earning his check and doing it really, really well. It's impressive.
Did y'all talk about this last week? Did y'all
What?
talk about the running back room last week?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Never mind. Okay.
What's your thought? Go ahead, Troy. You haven't been on in a while. Join the party. Come on in and swim.
I hate your analogies so
I
much.
do. That one. I hate everything that you just said.
The water's nice. Come on
water's
in.
nice.
Yeah.
Just come in.
Gosh. No, I mean, it's been a while since we've had a clear number one running back going into the season in
Yes.
Sawchuk, which is nice. My question is he going to be the number one by the end of the year? Right? Like how we've heard Vontae Barnes was said he was never injured, right? We heard the interview. Is it because he was kind of better than Sawchuk, prior to the injury? You can make a case for that. So I don't know, like Caleb Hicks, Taylor Tatum, is he going to get any play?
Right.
We don't know. Like, I think Sawchuk is really good, but it's going to be hard to evaluate the running backs if the O-line sucks that bad. So
Right.
who's going to give you the best chance out of the backfield at that, flaring out and trying to be who's going to be the best blocker they got to keep in for protection, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the best back that they can flare out, they put in the slot in motion or something like that. Is that Sawchuk? I don't know.
Right.
So
I think with Sawchuk and Barnes, personally, for me, it's all about availability. Sawchuk has not had a healthy season in 2 years of him being here. And then Barnes had a really good freshman year and then disappeared last year. And even by his own, interview, I would feel great all through practice, and then game day would come along and I just didn't have it. And I don't know what that means. Like, I don't understand that. Like, pain, you didn't have it, or you just didn't feel fast, or you were scared of getting hurt. So both of them right now do not have a track record that makes you feel overly confident of their availability. I think for Hicks, as long as he can get his pass protection down, he is going to factor into this backfield heavily. Whether the other two guys are healthy or not, I do think Hicks is going to be a part of it. And I think when you get in the goal line situation, I think Xavier Robinson is going to.
I was just going to bring up Xavier.
Well,
6'2", 220.
Yeah.
Can we also, I think, like, people, I've seen a little bit talked about it, but it's like when Riley left, everybody thought, well, Venables is coming in, they're going to recruit really well defensively, and the offensive side is that we're recruiting better on both sides of the ball.
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Like,
yes.
our running back room, I mean, I know, like, I'm saying this, it's like, really, when you even think about it, what was the best running back room under Riley? What, Mixon and Pirine? Those are both Stoops guys.
Stoops guys.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. And I mean, you went and took Tatum, who was a hard, USC lean for a lot of his recruitment. I mean, that was up until a few days for his commitment. It was all USC, and then they were able to flip him, basically. So it's just crazy to see, like, you've built this room, and like I said, you've done it in a way that people didn't think. Like, you're recruiting really, really well. And again, it's not even just that, it's the whole offense, really. I mean, it's just crazy how much
it's not, and to take that point, Jared, and keep running with it, we're recruiting better at every single level than Riley was.
Yes.
Think about it. Like, outside of quarterback, which you can still make the case, we haven't dipped in our recruiting in quarterback, right? You can make that case.
I think this is what I would say. We're not getting the number one, but our depth at quarterback is better than it's ever been from Riley till now. The depth is a lot better.
Yes. Yes, we're not getting the transfer superstars, right?
Right.
Like the Kyler Murrays. That might be some of the biggest thing. But at every level, especially defense, take like every level of defense is way better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, y'all, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but the talking about like the cornerback depth, right? The secondary depth, the linebacker depth, like cool. If somebody
Yeah.
gets injured, all right, like next
Well, I
up,
think it's the culture that you've recruited too, right?
yes,
Because I've not
there
been
wasn't
mad
a
about
culture
it.
before.
Yeah, there wasn't really a culture. You have guys coming in that like you said, you just got the number one running back last recruiting class, and he's coming into a situation where he knows that he's gonna he's not gonna have a shoe in starting job his freshman year or his sophomore year even, right? Like he's going to have to fight and try to get a spot. Like you're building that culture where you are building competition. You have guys that are coming in, that know talking about the linebacker, and the linebacker room is crowded.
Yeah.
And you have guys that could easily say, I'm going to transfer out and go wherever. And as far as we know, at least there's no sniffs of that happening.
Right.
So it's crazy the amount of stuff that they're able to do. And like I said, it's both sides of the ball. The culture is really good to see. And like you said, I think like you said, we have more depth at quarterback. And then it's like you're getting guys that come, like I said, you're still getting top tier guys. You're still getting guys that go and compete highly at the Elite 11s and stuff like that. So
you bring up the quarterback room, and I'm sure this is a flow. I haven't read the flow, obviously, but Michael Hawkins. Okay.
Yep.
Jared, I want to get your take on this. Are you buying or selling the hype of Michael Hawkins?
I don't know. Like I really want to see. I don't want to say I want to see the spring game. I want to see if that carries through to the fall. I'm not going to buy it quite yet. I think Jackson Arnold has such a lead that it'd be hard for him to be unseated, but I do think Hawkins is that guy that's going to push for time as we get closer to fall.
Daryl?
I'm buying. I think he is legit. Again, when you watch that senior tape compared to his junior tape, the jump that he takes is pretty impressive. And he did that jump at a school that was not. Remember, he was at Allen, which is a Texas powerhouse, right? They're just cranking in and out. They have a culture, they have a system. The school he went to play for is a brand new school district in the state of Texas. It has no history, it has no system, it has no program, and he elevated his game. Like, the dude's only getting better and better and better. He has every tool on planet Earth. His mechanics were his biggest problem his junior year. They got better with his senior year. It sounds as though they've gotten better even between his graduation to arriving at OU. His legs are ridiculous. And his dad was an NFL player who is not going to let this kid just sit on the couch on a Saturday. I mean, that's not going to be allowed.
His dad said, we're not going to get second spot. We want top spot, and we want it from the jump.
Which every dad's going to say that. But
I will make a bet with both. Okay, that's cool. I buy the hype as well to a point, right?
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm at with it, Troy.
I buy it to a point. Daryl and I, we had this conversation in the car yesterday, I think, and but I would make a bet with both of you right now that to start the season, Casey Thompson will be the backup on the chart.
And that's fine. But like I told you,
would you take the bet? Either of you take that bet?
Hold on, because it depends on one caveat.
All
right? Because we saw this with our roster, right? Like who was it? Dadgummit, I can't even remember now. Oh, Bevel. Blake Bevel. Remember when Bevel this last season was the backup? Remember, he was listed as the backup the entire season. And then Dylan Gabriel goes down hurt in the BYU game, and who came in?
Jackson Arnold.
How many
Arnold.
games was it the BYU game into the season?
Okay, even so. And
Was
early
he?
in the
Because
season,
I don't know this during the before the BYU game. Was Bevel named on the roster, the backup, or was it JFA?
Bevel.
Okay. I would still say on the roster, Casey Thompson is the backup and would come in within the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah, out of conference? Yeah, you're probably right. But that's because they're just throwing him a bone. If you get into conference play, I personally think if it's within the first couple
That's
conference
fine.
games,
That's fine. That's farther into the season. I'm talking about the start of the season.
that's like
That's the bet. That's the bet. I threw the bet out there, and you're trying to say like, oh, it's a stupid bet because you should make it later in the season. No, that's
but
the bet I'm throwing out there.
framing it as though, hey, we're playing Arkansas State, and if somehow if JFA goes down hurt, they're going to bring it. Of course, they're going to bring in Casey Thompson. It's Arkansas State. They're going to make sure that they get a lead. Then they're going to bring in Michael Hawkins. But if it's a game on the line where they know they can't just lean on a so-so quarterback, I think it would be Michael Hawkins. That's the
By the way,
difference.
we open the season with Temple, by the way, just in case somebody's wondering. So your bet's at Temple.
Yeah.
Casey Thompson would be the backup.
Yeah.
He would actually come in, not just on the depth chart. He would come in.
He would come in.
Yeah, we have to make this bet right now.
Yeah, right now. Barring injury, the bet could go away barring injury to either player.
I mean, no,
Man,
I can't make that bet right now. To me, you're crazy if you think they're going to list Mike Hawkins as the backup. But if push came to shove and it's a game they really have to win,
that's fine. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing to start the season. I don't care about a game they have to win.
He's asking Temple when they play Temple,
like over and over and over. I hear what you're saying. I don't care.
I don't disagree with you. It's going to be Casey Thompson.
Jared is thinking about it. Jared, pull the trigger. Steam game.
I've already bought you one Steam game. I should have made y'all. I should have made y'all take the bet.
You should have, dude. You should have made the Thunder bet.
Y'all
so
both
bad.
for the Thunder games, but you know what? No, I think it'd be Casey Thompson. Honestly, I think if they come out and they blow out Temple, and they pull Jackson at halftime or whatever, then I think Casey plays like a quarter, and then Hawkins will play a quarter, right? But yeah, I mean, I think Casey Thompson's going to start. I mean, I think he's, we've seen that he's capable, right?
Yeah.
He's very capable and he's got experience. I think honestly, we haven't talked about it a lot, but Casey Thompson's transfer is actually really, really good. Just for the leadership value. For the leadership value alone is amazing. But yeah, I think Casey Thompson probably is that guy. Come Temple. After that, I don't know.
Talking about the dudes that the quarterbacks would throw to. Okay. If I freaking see Gavin Freeman play in a clutch moment, I'm gonna lose my ish, y'all.
Dude, somebody posted the Twitter comments on. They posted a video. And I'm pretty sure it's Gavin Freeman. It was really hard to see like a number or whatever, but it looked like Gavin Freeman catching a pass, it looked like a jet sweep even. And people were like, if that's Gavin Freeman on a jet sweep, I swear to God, people were
I swear, y'all, you're right. There's at least 6 wide receivers that should be ahead of him, minimum on the roster.
Yes.
There was last year.
Yes, there was. And
I don't want to see him in big moments at all.
No. Let him have his out of conference time. And here's the other thing too. And look, this is on Lebby. And we even said this. I still think there's guys that should play more than him, but they never used him appropriately. They never ran him on slants. They never ran him on curls into the zone. They ran jet sweeps to him. A guy that weighs 145 pounds, they ran a jet sweep to. Like, what are we doing?
Well, they had the weirdest hot hand fallacy ever, because it's like they ran it that first time he ever touched the ball in college.
Yeah.
It was like that jet sweep kind of bubble screen thing that they do.
Yeah.
And he
Took it to the house.
took it to the house, and it was like after that, they're like, okay, that's our move. It just made no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, well, let's talk about the people that are showing out that can be there. But I agree with you, Troy. Like, there's a lot of other guys that need to be playing. They did have kind of a
I've
mini.
got go.
What?
Sorry, I did not mean to. Nothing. Sorry.
There was a mini
No.
scrimmage last week, and so here's kind of the notes out of the scrimmage. J of A did not have a great day, but he also had no time to throw against the first defense. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can feel about that. Either the O line's really bad or the D line's really good. He's not seeing the field well. There's a lot of different things. There's been plenty that he made some good throws, made some big plays, but all in all, the defense absolutely won the day, right? The next thing that you heard from the quarterback position is that Michael Hawkins looked like a dude, that he made plays everywhere with his arm, and that it became official. That dude can run and make some moves because apparently with his legs, he torched the defense. Now, he was going against the 2s and the 3s. So let's be clear about that. He's going against a second and third team defense, which is a completely different deal. Hicks, lots of good plays. And then the other thing that we have heard is there is not just one, but there are options at kicker. And it sounds like Zach Schmidt might be third on the depth chart. And that one of the new kickers came in and hit one from 55 in said scrimmage. So I feel like all those things are good. I'll just throw that out there and let you guys go at it. Troy, you may go first.
There's somebody you didn't talk about that I'm hearing buzz about would be Bauer Sharp.
Yes.
We did talk about it last week.
We did.
Last week.
Yep.
Like, did we say that we thought like Davon Mitchell would start? Because I think Jake's going to start.
Yes.
And I think Bauer's got most talent of the two.
Yeah, we did. I think we all bought into the 5-star hype with Davon Mitchell, and we forgot he's still gonna have to learn how to block. And we also forgot that he's like 16 and a half, 17 years old, because he's only supposed to be starting his senior year this fall. Remember that.
But he's already 6'3", 255.
Yes,
and
exactly.
chiseled.
And dude, when you watch him catch the ball, it's a thing of beauty. Like, even just a warm up, his hands catch the ball so effortlessly, it's dumb. He will be a weapon in the red zone, but up and down the field, Bauer Sharp is going to be your guy. And the other guy turning heads, if he can stay healthy, is Caden Helms.
Yeah.
Caden Helms has made an impression. So, but yes, I do think Bauer Sharp is another guy that's had a really good day and a really good camp, and they love everything that he brings to the table. That's a great point on that, Troy. Jared, any thoughts for you on all these different things from the scrimmage?
I mean, kicker. We talked about, I think people can't undermiss. I think we all quickly forgot how miserable it was for our kicking game last year. So to know we have any option is kind of a great thing to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I am interested to see. Like I said, there's been a ton of buzz about Hawkins, and I totally understand why. But again, it's so early on. I've seen people that are making these bold prediction that he's going to take Jackson Arnold's job, and
no,
like, guys, this is way too early. It's spring ball. We always have a hype about some guys that end up, by the time fall comes around, they're the ones getting passed up, right?
Right.
I do think Bauer Sharp's probably going to be the dude this season, and I think we kind of like, I try to make a weird comparison, and by no means do I think he's this good, but I said he's kind of like the Temu version of Brock Bowers. Like, he's kind of that, like, a little bit closer to that kind of tight end, I think. But Davon Mitchell is, like, you brought him up, Troy. That dude's just, if you keep him on campus for 3 years and he stays healthy, good Lord, that dude's going to be something. So, I do expect him to get some run this year. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see. We're getting closer to the spring game, so I'm really anxious just to see some freaking people get hit, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love to hear it. I do. The O-line is a concern, but it's like, can we just take a step back for a second? Like, let's just Ignore the O-line for now. Every other position group sounds like it's gotten better.
Yes.
Like literally
Yes.
every position group has sounded like, even kicker. Like every position group sounds like it's gotten better, which is wild.
Very wild.
So yeah,
The
very
turnaround
excited.
at tight end's insane, guys. I mean, seriously think about the reality that Austin Stogner was all you had. That's it. And now we're talking about Bauer Sharp, and we're talking about when will Davin Mitchell come along. We haven't even talked about Jake Roberts. We're talking about what's being said about Caden Helms. I mean, like, that's 4 guys that we've named that, if healthy, you would feel very good about putting out on the field. And last year, it was Austin Stogner, who we didn't even feel great about being out on the field. And we all hated that because we wanted Austin Stogner to come home and to be the guy, and it just didn't work out that way. But I agree with you.
And
I mean, the amount of improvement across the board outside of offensive line is incredible.
Let's take quarterback. You have Dylan Gabriel transfer out, right? Who was for a lot of the season like up there in the Heisman conversation a little bit. One of the top quarterbacks in college football, right?
Right.
He transfers out, and it's like now you have at least I'm going to call it, he's a sophomore, I guess, but still, you have Jackson Arnold, who's a young guy that shows a lot of promise. You have Michael Hawkins that right now is impressing the crap out of everybody, and you have Casey Thomas. So it's like, even really when you think about it, it's like,
and Zerbrug. Don't forget about Zerbrug is there too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have, I don't know if the top level, I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to match Dylan Gabriel, which is weird to say. I know people are gonna roast me probably for this. I don't know if people are going to be able to attain Dylan Gabriel's level of play last season. Even Jackson Arnold, maybe it's very much on the fence. I think Jackson Arnold's capable of it. It's just going to be putting it together, right? But the depth is much better because last season, if Jackson Arnold goes down, like when in the BYU game, if Jackson Arnold had to come out, you're trying out Gerald Booty or Davis Bevel.
Yeah.
I mean, you have much more depth. It's crazy how much this roster is just completely, like you said, just turned around. Outside the O-line.
Except for O-line. Yeah.
Yeah. And look,
even one of the concerns of D-line is still much deeper than years past.
100%.
Well, and I do want to say, because there has been a buzz about a couple, like the North Texas kid that transferred in. I've seen him get a lot of buzz.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's been that have gotten a little bit of love. So we'll see how that pans out. I don't think the O-line is going to be a strength, but trying to be at the sunshine pumper a little bit, maybe it's better than we think it will be.
Yeah, and honestly, from a recruiting standpoint, the offensive line is as good as it's been in a long time. I mean, I think really Eugene Brooks is something. I think Daniel Akinkumi is really something. I think Eddie Pierre-Louis really has a chance to be something. It sounds like they really like what they're seeing in Jake Taylor, right? Like, that's all good. The problem is it's all just so young and it's so inexperienced. You don't have – this is where those years of not recruiting well, literally for about 4 or 5 years, has now – it's biting you now, right? And you have to have now, these transfers have to be dudes, because if they're not, we're in trouble. Like, while the future may still be bright, the offensive line's in trouble. So,
well, and just to really quick, you said Akinkumi, and it made you think, like, people have to realize he's very raw. Like, he played in England or whatever, but it's like, if you give him a year, he'll be good. But it's too early to try to push somebody like that in.
Right.
As talented as we'd be able to recruit.
Right. Now, one interesting note that did come out of the open practices, I was going to give you both a little trivia, not really trivia question, but just see if you can figure it out. There was a lot of discussion about who was back returning punts, because Gavin Freeman is actually hurt right now and not playing. So they are working different people in at punt return, and they're working different people at kick return. There was a name mentioned as one of the primary kick return people when they practice this in the open practice that I find extremely intriguing. That's your clue. That they have put back at kick return. But it's a name. They have been here for more than 1 year. They have been here for more than 1 year. They have not, as far as I know, seen the field hardly at all. But the idea of them at kick returner is really promising. Jared, can you even give a guess who it could be?
What his name? It's a receiver, right? Is it a receiver? Can you tell me if it's a receiver?
No. I would give
Can
you
you
no
say
more
offense or
clues.
defense? Can you say offense or defense?
Defense.
Oh, it's defense.
I have an idea.
Troy's scrolling the roster. I could see his screen lighting up.
Oh man, I don't know.
5, 4, 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Troy?
He saw the field last year, but not more. Is it Peyton?
No.
Because
'cause
I've
he's
heard
only
he's
been here a
being. I've heard he is. Well, this is be his second year. He said more than a year, so this
Yep.
would be his second year. He's in the
It's
middle of
not
second year.
Peyton. It is not Peyton.
But I have heard that he's in that rotation of taking returns.
Punts mainly, but yes.
Okay.
This is kick return.
RSJ?
Kick.
No.
Don't
How about the
talk
name?
about it.
How about the name Jaden Rowe, who we have all forgotten about, who stands 6'2", 200 and I believe 15 pounds, and ran a 10. What was it, like a 10-3, 10-400 in high school, and is healthy and is moving unbelievably well. Guys, listen, I think he might actually be 220. Somebody find him on the roster and give me a weight while I'm throwing this all out there.
Jaden Rowe is 6'2", 228.
228. And get this, guys, he's not playing linebacker. There was a lot of talk of them moving him down in the box. He is legitimately in the safety rotation right now at 228 pounds. Can you imagine 228 with 10-3, 10-4 speed returning a kick at you? Like, dude, sign me. Like, I know there's a lot of Brennan Thompson talk. There's, those kind, and like, I love that for the speed. But when you're talking about being able to run through the trash and get like here, it gives me Alex Ross vibes. Remember Alex Ross, who could not juke anybody to save his life, but he was a big dude with incredible straight line speed. And he was a great kick returner. I love the idea of Jaden Rowe returning kicks. That would be a blast.
Can I just say right now, if we don't see Jaden Rowe at some point this season, or somebody other than Gavin Freeman return a punt, I'm going to snap one of my controllers in half.
I
or
think
something.
Dion Burks is going to be your guy there. I think Dion Burks is going to be the guy
that's a good,
there.
That's a good pick. But yeah,
he is. By the way, that's the other guy from the scrimmage that we got a superstar in that guy. Absolute superstar.
We're going to have to figure something out, because all defense will have to do is play press man coverage and blitz. And because they know we'll have to get the ball out quick, and we won't be able to do it because they'll be on top of our wideouts. It's going to be bad.
No, it's not. Well, here's the thing. You could be right, Troy, but here's where Emmett Jones deserves his flowers. Because, okay, do that. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to put Davin Mitchell in a slot. We're going to put Jaden Gibson out wide. We're going to put Nick Anderson out wide. We're going to put 6'4", 6'6", and 6'6" out there. You come on and do your little press man and see how that goes for you, because I think all those guys can get off the line of scrimmage and get open. Whereas when Riley was here, we were loaded with guys that were 6 foot even and 185, 195 pounds that could run like the wind. But if they were in the situation that you're talking about, it would not work. And it was one of the reasons when he got to the playoff, his offenses sometimes struggled to get going anywhere, because that's exactly what they would do to a Hollywood Brown. You can't do that with Jay. And then also the other guys, Ivan Carrion, I believe it's 6'7". He is 6'7", playing wide receiver as a true freshman. And apparently he moves really well. Go ahead and do your press man. We'll just throw a jump ball for 6 yards. I mean, literally, JFA will put it on a dot. And what are you going to do? And now you're just going to let us dink and dunk you down the field the whole way that way. And if they break a tackle, buckle up, because they're going to take it to the house.
I'm just starting to get really nervous about the line.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. We were going to talk about that in a minute. So be thinking about your concerns. But another positive to talk about very quickly. He talked about after practice talked, and he said a statement. It was really long and drawn out like BV does. but I to sum it up, he said this, and I really enjoyed it. He said one of the harder things for the young guys is they come to college and they have pretty much their entire career been the best player on the field, right? When you're talking about your 4 stars, your 5 stars, those kinds of guys, they've kind of just dominated throughout. And they've also, to some degree, been handled fairly softly because they're really talented and they haven't been coached very hard because they're so talented. And he said sometimes guys get here and they get really into their feelings when they are being corrected or they're being chewed out and they can't get out of it and snap out of it and they end up having to move along, right? He said, we have zero of that in this class. We have zero of that, which, by the way, I also think was a little bit of a shade at one Caden Green, but said they have zero. And then he went on to say that David Stone is the most humble and hardworking guy in the entire freshman class.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
I love everything about that. And if true, and it's not just pandering to the fan base, buckle up, because I do think that this class they just brought in is incredibly, incredibly talented. And if they're really willing to take coaching that way, man, the season could literally build for this team to get just better and better and better and better all the way through. Jared, you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we've talked about the culture, right? I mean, we've already talked about that. It's something I think that I think BV does a very good job of mixing getting that high talent guy and getting guys that are high character. Like you said, apparently we've heard about David Stone and we've heard a lot of good things about Jay. Like literally I could go through a list of guys already in this class that we've heard high praise of. And what's funny about it is you heard it even when they were coming in, you heard it from people at camps and stuff that weren't OU people saying it.
Right.
So I think that again, this is what I was talking about last week. I think about he's finally building up that equity and having the culture built that we've talked about it. This season, I don't think OU needs to go win a national championship, right? If OU goes out and wins 9 games in the SEC, like to me, 9 games is BV should be on the springboard to really go into something great. If you should be able to take a 9-win season, turn that into a stellar class, and then next year and the year after really be putting something together.
Right. And already 25 and 26 are off to super hot starts. Across the board. Troy, how do you feel about that report from BV?
Oh yeah, I heard that today, and I love that. I mean, that's the attitude you have to have. That's the attitude you have to have for now and for the future.
Right.
So especially going into the vaunted SEC, whatever, it's just something like you can't take for granted the hard work and the grind, the daily grind, and get better. Like, man, and it kind of hit me yesterday. My son gets done with a great game of baseball at middle school. He struck out one time, got a hit, was great in the field, and he comes out and he's like, "Dad, what I do wrong in my strikeout?" I go, "No, let's talk about how you did well, right?" And he goes, "Nope, I gotta get better every single day. I need to know what I did wrong." And if that's the attitude that these boys are implementing, and not living to their 5 stars, not living up to their NIL deals and crap like that, man, it could be a special year. It could be an 8-9 win year, and it's building, right?
Yeah.
So
and
nothing
he added
bad
to that,
happens
Troy,
from that kind of attitude.
To build on yours, he also added in that, but I was so caught up in the young guys not getting caught in their feelings, but he also said of the guys who came back, he said our 3rd and 4-year guys that decided to return are saying, "Coach me like a freshman. Coach me like I really
wild. That's like if I'm hearing Danny Stutzman say that, or I'm hearing like Billy Bowman or Woody Washington say that, Ethan Downs, Trace Ford. All right.
Yeah.
That's an example you can get behind.
You and I, Troy, have talked about this a ton. That with every great dynasty, and the one in particular that you and I always talk about is your Spurs when you were still a hardcore Spurs fan, and the way that Tim Duncan would allow Popovich to just dominate him in a practice if he wasn't doing good. And because Tim Duncan did that, it set the tone for everybody else to be coached hard and to be pushed and to be made the best that they could be made, right?
Well, that's a great point. Sorry, Jared, you have one. Go ahead.
I was just saying, did y'all see the podcast? There's Derrick Henry and I don't remember who else, but it was there's 2 or 3 Alabama guys because Derrick Henry has his own podcast, I guess now, and they were talking just to go back to that about like the whole mentality thing, and he was telling this long story about he was in the bathroom and he said there was like a coach's or private bathroom or whatever, and he said you knew like when a coach walked in because they'd be wearing different gear and stuff like that, and he said he looked under the stall and knew it was a coach, and he opened the door and it was Nick Saban. And he was like, I was obviously like not really supposed to be in there. It wasn't like a strictly enforced thing. And he said, I went over and I was washing my hands and he was, using the bathroom or whatever. And he was like, I just decided like I was going to say something. So, break the silence, make it not so awkward. And he goes, hey, coach, how Harry, which is Nick Saban's wife. And he goes, she'd be a hell of a lot better if you would have blocked that guy on 3rd and 8 last week. And he's like, I'm literally asking about his wife, and he's still focused on one play the week before where I let somebody get past me on 3rd down. And it's like just to go to like the whole dynasty and like the way that they think, it's like that's the mentality you have to have of always like going after that perfection.
Yeah.
And to that point, you have to have that in your leaders. You have to have that in your coaching staff and your best players.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of great leaders that aren't best players, right? And it sometimes falls on deaf ears, right? Like love him to death. I loved Bookie, right? When he was here, he was a leader with his words, but he just wasn't the best player on the field. And so people wouldn't exactly listen to him all the time, right? And so when you have they take the team's identity is formed primarily through the coaching staff and your best players.
Right.
So if your best players have that humble, grinded out attitude, get better every single day, the rest of the team primarily, obviously there's exceptions to these rules, primarily will take that. For instance, look at the Thunder, okay? Does SGA bark about every call? Does SGA complain about things?
Right.
No. He does his thing. There are a ton of times where he thinks he should be fouled, blah, 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 right? And you could see him start to get up and start getting a little mad. No, he just puts in, and I've heard he is like the hardest worker on the team, right? And then what is that team like? That team exemplifies that attitude throughout. Chet's the same way. J-Dub's the same way. They are hard workers and they don't complain all the time, right? They just like, hey, we're gonna overcome these bad calls, whatever. Then you take a look at, and I'll throw him under the bus all day long. LeBron, right? Every freaking play that does not go his way, he is complaining like a little bee, right? Like he is a complainer, dude. Yeah. And every single time. And what does the rest of the team do? They're the exact same way.
Right.
Everybody on his team is the exact same way. So if you get that dude to go back to what we were originally talking about, the leaders that want to grind it out, you coach me hard every single moment, every single play, every single practice. Coach me hard.
Right.
Man, that will pay dividends, not just for today's practice, today's season, but next season and the dynasty that we want to build here.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's very encouraging to hear BV feel that way about this team. And I feel like when he's talked about things like that, he has not blown smoke about where they are and those things. So it's really encouraging. So we've got a lot still to cover. So let's keep going here. We are a podcast of the people, for the people, by the people. And so we had questions submitted last week that we need to get through for this week. And there's some good ones, some that are obviously very related to the team and others that are not. The first, Troy, I want to ask you this one. I think that you would have a great perspective on this. The annexation of Puerto Rico, the timeliness of the use of this call in a youth football game. How did you feel about that play when it dawned itself in a youth football game?
What are you talking about?
Have you
I
not
have
seen?
no idea.
Have you not seen
No.
Little Giants?
Man, it's been a hot minute since I've seen Little Giants.
The final
Okay.
play, that they win
I
the game,
remember
the
now. That's
annexation of Puerto
fine.
Rico.
All right, moving on.
It was actually
Okay.
terrible timed time to play that or to call that play, and it just happened to work out. That would be my answer, Matt, that you wanted to know about that. Let's go on to a real football question. This comes from our one and only Nemo. He wants to know 3 positives and 3 concerns. Your 3 biggest positives for this team and your 3 biggest concerns. Jared, I will start with you. 3 biggest concerns and your 3 positives going into next season.
I just, by the way, love Nemo. One of our
Love the
favorites
Nemo.
of the podcast. Yeah, Nemo's a good guy. Concerns. Let's start with the positives. Positives, the depth we've talked about at pretty much every position. I'm gonna go. I'm kind of go a couple of overarching, I guess. The quality of culture that's being built and the quality of like the player, the person of a player, right? Um, and then another positive, I'll go a little bit more direct, is I'm just gonna go DeMarco Murray.
Mm.
Again, I think I just the more I think about it, I'm like, dude, the guy just pulls in top talent every year somehow when you already have a loaded room. So just a positive that they kept him, a positive that he's still recruiting at a high level. And like I said, if he can get the development really on that resume with a couple of guys, it's just I don't know how they hold on to him. The negatives, the O line, go cheap there. The O line overall is a big concern. And then I'm gonna go D line. Um, Only because we have a lot of talent and we have a lot of depth there, but we don't have a lot that's like truly proven. We've got a lot of guys that we think could be special,
Right.
but like getting them on the field and getting them to be special is a whole other ball game. And then my last one, and nobody's gonna like this, Jackson Arnold. Um, Again, tons of potential. We saw the Arizona game, and there was throws he made that Dylan Gabriel couldn't have made. Um, that just I don't know that there's a whole lot of people on this planet that could have made. And then he made plays where you're like, I don't really know what you were doing there. So just getting that put together across the whole season, is he going to be that guy that's got an app like the amazing throwing ability and just can't string it together on the field? So those are my 3 of each.
Yes. Troy.
Troy.
My negative. O line, O line, O line. Okay. Honestly. But like there's nothing we've talked about it already on this pod.
Center guards tackles, huh?
Centers, guards, tackles. That's what I should have said. That was good. I mean, and here's my positive. Jackson Arnold, number 1, is my positive. Okay. I'm going opposite of you. I think the dude is all world. He's got a chance to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft.
Yep.
Like he is that freaking special and talented. So just lose a little bit of the Brett Favre, just lose a little bit that you can do every single throw, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. He's also super freaking young. So I'm going to give him a pass a lot of the time. And here's another positive. Gavin Freeman won't see much of the field this year. That's another positive.
I hope. God, I hope. I hate that. I hate Gavin Freeman, but just if
I don't either, dude. Like his story is awesome, right? His story is great. Love this story, but it can't.
He's somehow the guy.
Last year,
he's the guy. Last year, he was the guy that you cheered for, and also wanted to throw something when you saw him touch the field. Like somehow he's both those guys.
Remember the start of the year, we were like, "Oh my gosh, here he goes again. He's going to do great." By week 5, we were like, "Why is he still touching the ball? How is he still back there taking punts?" And I'm going to say another positive is our tight end room.
Yeah. Yep.
Like our
Yeah.
tight end room went from a huge question mark weakness last year. Like we were like, hey, Stogner, you're great and all, but like, man, you have lost a step, brother. To we got 4 dudes, 5 dudes in there now. That's like
Yep.
we could be like could legit be players,
Yep.
like really good players. So I'm gonna say Jackson Arnold, no more Gavin Freeman, and in the tight end room.
Nice. Very, very nice. I'll start with my negatives. Number one concern for me, um, I'm gonna actually go different from you guys. I'm gonna say my number one is Miguel Chavis. And here's what I mean. He is recruited like a madman. I have not seen those defensive ends get better. I don't know that I've seen, matter of fact, I think you could make the argument Trace Ford took a step backwards from Oklahoma State to coming to Oklahoma last year. He did not wreak havoc in the backfield like he did when he was at Oklahoma State. I need to see this year, and I have a concern that he is unable to develop the guys that he gets in. My number two concern is definitely the O line. I mean, I have to agree with y'all there. Bedenbaugh has to earn a paycheck. And I think that even Bedenbaugh, my concern is can he adjust? I think Bedenbaugh is always recruited so well generally that's where he's been able to just throw an encyclopedia at them about football. And once you figure that out, you get on the field. I think this is going to have to be a year where he has to adjust and say, what does this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy do the best? And how do I get that out of them? And what do those five look like together to make a cohesive line as opposed to being able to do everything day one? And I don't know if he can do that. We'll see. But I hope that he can. My number three concern is this. I am concerned about Jackson Arnold, but let me be clear. If they continue to make him go against the one defense, which means Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, Woody Washington, DJ Terry, just that whole group of people. I mean, that level one defense is legit, right? Like those are all guys that have played a lot and played at a high level. If they keep doing that and his O-line struggles and he's doing poorly and they keep putting Mike Hawkins against the 2s or the 3s and he keeps lighting it up, you have to wonder what that does to his psyche. And I am concerned about that. I'm concerned about the management of Jackson Arnold's confidence. And I know it's easy for us to say, well, he's a 5-star. He's got to figure it out. Look, none of us would handle that well. Going out to practice and getting destroyed every other play and then watching the backup just destroy everything and make play after play after play starts to put doubts in your head. And so I think those are my concerns. My positives, I'm also going to go with coaching on this one. I think Zach Alley being here is going to pay massive dividends for this football team. And already you're hearing the open practice stuff talk about how BV, like even Dasan McCullough talked about this. BV hasn't come over to our indie drills once this year. It's all been Zach Alley. And so BV seems to be truly moving into that CEO position. And I think that is huge for this team. I really do. Two that you guys haven't said, oh, how about this? Special teams. I think just in general, from the coaching to the kickers to everything. Zach Alley, by the one, won a national award for special teams coaching when he was at Boise State. Most people don't know that. He was an assistant there and did that. And then Teddy Lehman even said on their podcast the other day that he was talking to some people about the new special teams analyst that they've hired. And they said, not only is that dude good, he's a genius. From multiple people, they said when it comes to the structure and how to put things together, that he's a genius on the special teams. I think the special teams will have a massive impact on this football team this year in a huge way. And then my third positive is just the attitude and culture of the team is finally, I think, in full effect. I think that BV finally has his guys top to bottom on this roster. that are bought into what he wants and how he wants to do it. And I think he's got the coaching staff that is finally bought in to what he wants and how he wants to do it. And I think that will pay huge dividends as well. So those are my positives and negatives. He also, we had Oklahoma Mo also asked us about the tight end. I think we've kind of talked about that, Bauer Sharp. I think this is a good question. Troy, here's my question. By the end of the year, what will the letter grade for this offensive line be? He says, give your diagnosis. But what do you think will be the grade for this offensive line when the year is said and done?
Dang, that's tough. That's tough. Because then we're banking on, is Biedenbach gonna be able to develop? Some years he develops, some years he doesn't.
Here, let me throw something in this fire real quick.
Okay.
We talked about when Riley left, you had a bunch of offensive linemen. Like your biggest offensive lineman was like what, 280, 285? You had a bunch of tweeners on the offensive line, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a big thing we talked about: strength and conditioning, size. How many guys right now on the offensive line do you think are below 300 pounds?
He's not listed at, but I still think Troy Everett is. Maybe
two.
Logan Howland. So maybe 2.
Two's Daryl's answer. Troy, what do you think?
I'll say 1.
1 is the correct answer. Gunnar Allen is the only one listed at below 300 pounds. Who's, I think, a walk-on.
That's all well and good. That's all well and good. But we've got to see it in.
No. My point being is we can't hide behind strength and conditioning anymore. The guys are. I agree with you, Daryl. There's probably some guys that are like they're fudging the 300-pound mark, right?
100%.
But there was nobody. There maybe 1 guy, 2 guys on the offensive line when Riley left.
I disagree with that. I think their offensive line was big. I think the concern was strength. I mean, you had multiple guys. Orlando Brown, I mean, what, at one point pumped like 10 reps or 12 reps of 225. Even this year, Rame. But he was mostly a product of the Benny Wiley strength and conditioning system in his most developmental years, and he was terrible on bench press. So I think strength was the real issue, more so than weight. But then with that came bad weight, not good weight, right? Like you had 320 guys that looked sloppy, right? Whereas this year or last year is a great example. Tyler Guyton looked like he could still put on another 20-something pounds, and he was like 322 or something when he was playing. I mean, he was just a monster.
Yeah, my point just being that you have the weight going into the SEC, you can't keep running. You can't go run every game at a guy that's 285, right? You don't want your tackle out there that weighs 285 and clearly weighs 285. You want a 300-pound plus guy out there, and you have that. So I'm just saying, Coach B, as well, I've been a supporter of Coach B. We can't go behind they're undersized or they're not strong enough. Like they've been in the strength and conditioning long enough. So this is one of those years. While it is a thin line and there's a lot of question marks, I think you've got to find a way to produce something, is my point.
So I think the letter grade is completely dependent on the expectation going into game 1 in the season. I think it's completely dependent on that expectation. Because say we're like, oh, it's going to suck. We know it's going to suck, right? It's going to be terrible. And they do better than adequate, right? They're not great, but they're good. They're fine, right? All of a sudden we're like, man, that was a really good O-line. That was a lot better than we thought. We're going to give them like an A- or a B plus, whatever. Whereas like if we go into a season thinking they're supposed to be one of the top 2 or 3 units in the country and they underperform slightly, we're going to be like, oh, they're C plus at best. Yeah. I think it comes down to the expectation. We all have the expectation that they're going to suck. And could it be a product of our D-line being hyper talented? Possibly. Daryl, possibly.
Possibly. Possibly. That's what this is. Possibly.
This is not a possibility.
I didn't do this. I did this.
Anywho, so it could be. I will say at the end of the day, it'll be a B minus, like Biedenbaugh's last 5 years have been.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, what's funny, Troy, is I was literally going to say B minus. I don't think they're going to be an elite unit. But I think they're going to be. I think, especially coming into the offseason, I think they're going to be a better unit than what people expected. So I'm going to give them a slightly above C grade and a B minus.
Yeah, I'm going C to C minus. I think is where they'll be, because even the guys right now that you feel confident in, like a Jake Sexton, right? Everybody you hear talking on the inside is like he's kind of penciled in at one of the tackles. Watch the tape. His pass blocking's not any good. It's not horrendous, but it's not good. Now his run blocking is devastating. And if he can't figure out how to kick and get back and to set in a pass setting, Jackson Arnold's going to be in massive trouble. And that's the problem. And that's really that whole line that we were so excited about coming out of that Florida State bowl game 2 years ago. If you watch that game, the pass blocking was horrendous and the run blocking was pretty good. And that's why they ran the ball like 37 times. Now, maybe that's what they'll do, but that's kind of what you feel like from the guys that you've seen so far on this line play some. So, we'll see. It's either that or it's going to be a youth movement that looks terrible at the start of the year and looks great at the end of the year. And even so, it's going to end up being a C grade overall on the season, but you're going to feel great moving forward, I think is kind of where that goes. So, another question really quick from Oklahoma. This is a great one. Last year, the guys for this team were Billy and Danny and Drake and Dylan. Do we agree with that? Is it fair to say those were kind of the ringleaders of this team last year?
Yeah.
Who do you think it will be this year is the question.
Danny, you can go ahead and put up there. Danny's
Okay.
easy.
Okay.
Good question after that. Billy and Danny.
I still think Billy and Danny, yeah, run that. I think Ethan Downs is a part of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd put if he wants to give us like the next guys, because I think those guys they're coming back, so I think they're still gonna be those guys. I'll go Ethan Downs and Woody Washington.
All defense? What about offense? Offense gotta have
No. I'm just covering defense. Yeah. Offense.
I think a guy that emerges. I think the other guy that emerges this year is Kip Lewis. I think he starts to assert himself as the guy that's going to take the torch from Danny when Danny and Billy are gone. Now, offensively is where it gets tricky.
I've already got my offensive guys.
Go ahead. Who is it?
JFA.
Okay.
Jaden Gibson.
Oh wow. Okay. You got yours, Troy?
Let's. Can I just justify the Jaden Gibson pick? I think JFA is not. I don't think I have to justify that.
No, I think we're all going to have JFA on our list in some way, shape, or form.
But look at Jaden Gibson, like the dude. We talked about this ad nauseum. He just showed up, and then they just refused. It was just the weirdest rotation at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like I'm hoping that they fix that, and he gets to show out. And if he gets a number of reps, I think he's going to assert himself as that guy.
Yeah.
I agree that Jaden's going to be great, and I hope he kind of asserts himself like that. I think on offense, it's going to be Deion Burks.
Yes.
Yeah, I do like him. I do like him a lot.
And I'm not talking about he's going to be the best player on offense. I think he's going to be one of the leaders.
Yes.
On offense. I'm going to say Deion. Yeah, Deion Burks. And if the O-line starts gelling, I could see Sexton being one of those dudes.
I think that's a solid pick. I think obviously you need JFA to be one. You need that. You hope
to
for
start
that.
the year. JFA and Jalil Farouk will like try to dominate their voices.
Yeah, I think Deion Burks is the other guy. I think that he just does that. The other guy that I think is going to leave his mark on this team is Bauer Sharp. I think Bauer Sharp has a real edge
thought about bringing him up.
and a real he's not afraid to get vocal. He ain't afraid to mix it up. He's not afraid to rile people up. I think he will definitely be a voice. The other guy that I'm shocked none of us said, that as I'm sitting here saying all those things about Bauer, watching Jacquez Petaway break down the team the other day in that video that we sent each other from last week, I think if that guy gets on the field and starts to make plays, that gives him the voice. And I think he showed in the way he broke the team down that he would be willing to assert himself as someone that pulls everybody along.
Unfortunately, I think BV is going to pull a BV on this one. And I think Petaway might be one of, if not the most talented wide receiver we've got. But I think he does a seniority thing more so than a lot of coaches. And I think he's going to let Jalil and
Burks.
Dion and Brennan and Anthony and Jaden get most of the reps there.
Maybe. And that's where I think that's where you've got to, if you feel confident in him returning punts, he needs to be your playmaker there. If you're confident in him returning kicks, he's got to be the guy there and use him in some way.
But also what we heard more and more about the last two classes, really both of BV's classes that he's brought in, the guys that come in aren't just coming in, like they're coming in, they just want to work.
Yeah.
Like that's why I think you can have leaders in this kind of culture that aren't getting a ton of, I mean, obviously it helps if you're getting a bunch of reps, but I think you can have those guys on the sidelines that are just as much of a vocal leader in this culture that are young.
Yeah.
So
last question from Mo, and then we'll move on to Thunder. Who is going to be at the start of the season running back 1 and running back 2? Troy.
Sawchuk, Barnes.
Jared.
I don't think they're the most talented two in the room. Let me just say that, but I think they're going to be 1 and 2.
I'm going to go Sawchuk and Hicks.
I'm Sawchuk and Hicks.
I'll make a bet with both of y'all.
You know, hang on. No, hang on. I'm going to take a T real quick. It was like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we were in, what is the name of that town?
Vegas. Las Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. Where they take bets. And now Troy's like, hey, I'll make a bet with you guys.
I would have thought y'all had the spirit. You brought back the spirit of the city.
What do you want to make the bet, Troy? A lunch? Is that what you want? A lunch?
Yeah. I'll do a lunch.
Okay, lunch. How about this? How about this? I want the bet to be this. After the first 2 games, the 2 leading rushers for this team will be Hicks and Sawchuk.
No, that's not. Like I said, I think Hicks might be the most talented in there, but I think Sawchuk on paper, Sawchuk and Barnes will be 1 and 2 on the depth chart.
Okay.
Start day 1.
Last question. If it's ors, Sawchuk or Barnes or Hicks, week 1.
Whoever's first in that freaking paper is 1 and 2. And the ors don't count.
They do alphabetical order.
They
I don't care. Who's 1 and 2?
I don't know if they do alphabetical order, but still.
I don't think they do, honestly.
Look, no, we got to do it this way because we're going it both ways. After the first, what'd you say, 2 games? Let's actually pull this up.
Temple.
4 games. I'm going to go 4 games because you have Temple, Houston, Tulane, and Tennessee in this 4-game rotation. So you're going to go play Tennessee, which is going to be a legit contender. Tulane could be pretty decent.
Hot take: Tennessee is not going to be that good this year. Just saying.
Okay, but they're a step above Temple.
I guess.
I'm going to say first 4 games. First 4 games. Let's make this bet. The top 2 rushers stats. We're not doing depth chart because that's because we've already seen how they.
I bet sure things, man. I don't do
sure things. I do
sure things.
How many
that
times
to me is a sure thing.
We've already talked about how they game the depth chart so much. There's no way to
100% yes. And I know what that game is. That's why I'm trying to play that bet.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not taking that bet. I'll
Yeah.
take a leading rusher bet, but I'm not taking
Yeah.
a
Daryl, will you
bet.
take that bet?
I'm really thinking about it. I think
All
Hicks
right.
is really asserting himself right now.
All right.
I'll let you know later. All right, moving on to Thunder Talk. The Thunder lose a heartbreaker to the 76ers last night. That would have been Tuesday night, that is, or you're listening to this on Thursday. So Tuesday night, a game they really should have won, and they just kind of fell apart down the stretch of the fourth quarter. But no J-Dub, no SGA, right in the game all the way through. And then tonight they played the Celtics and lost by 35 with no SGA and no J-Dub. But I do think it's also fair to say that for 3.1 quarters, they were in the game. It was tight, and then they just went on a 30-something run in the fourth to just blow the game wide open, right? So,
Yeah.
but I would still say that both these games, 3 quarters playing tight with the Celtics, who are the number one team in the NBA, taking the 76ers down to a last second shot. What I do believe we're seeing is as this team truly does have an incredible amount of depth, and we've said that all year. But kind of the caveat, everyone said, well, yeah, when SGA and J-Dub just elevate everybody so they look great. Well, okay, we just saw them play two very good teams and play some really good basketball for 7 out of 8 quarters with none of those guys. And I think it really did show off the depth of this team. Troy, do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh yeah. Absolutely agree. Um, yeah, I don't put a whole lot of stock in these two games at all that they just lost.
Right.
In fact, I would play some money that they win the next game. Sizable wager, actually. Doesn't matter.
Who's their next one? I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
even
They
know.
haven't lost 3 games all year long in a row.
Hmm. Yeah. I
They
mean,
they answer the
it
bell.
obviously depends on what they do with SGA and J Dub still, though. Even so, if they're going to continue to rest those guys to make them healthy for the playoffs, then they could lose their third for the first time this year. And I
They
still don't think
could.
they care. And I don't think they care.
Yeah, I don't think they care either. So, yeah.
Are you worried at all that they're not resting Chet? Because it still feels to me at times, Troy, like Chet looks tired because it's
A
just a
little
different.
bit.
And
Uh,
I
uh,
feel like of those 3 guys, he's the guy that I would want to be. Like, for instance, I think we all agreed, Jared even, like that Chet looked really tired going in the All-Star break. Like every night just looked like he was laboring. And then they took that break for All-Star and he came out like a man possessed for the
mhm.
next month or so. And now he's kind of hitting that wall again. And so give him a break.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But I think they gotta all be healthy for us to make any kind of run. They gotta all be healthy.
So
So
I'm going to I guess kind of like parlay this. I'm gonna screw your flow up really bad, Daryl.
Okay.
I just want to take a step back. The Thunder right now are basically resting. They're coasting going into the playoffs. We can pretty much say that, right? Like they're resting some
Yes.
guys. They're not pushing.
are you about to toot your own horn again?
No, no, actually, I'm not. I'm not.
All right, all
I mean, I
right.
did say 50 plus games, but 2 years ago, the Thunder were one of the worst records in the NBA. Like
Black eye. Black eye of the NBA.
Oh, the black eye of
black eye
the
of the
NBA.
NBA. And we were talking about this because what's happening, like, look at the Texans, right? I was going to draw the parallel. I was talking to a buddy today about the Stephon Diggs trade and how quickly the Texans have suddenly become, like, at least right now, it looks like on paper, a Super Bowl potentially contending team over the next few years. That's what the Thunder are right now. Like the Thunder went from a terrible team to the one of the best in the West with marketable players. And what's funny about it is the more people now I have friends from all over the country that cheer for, like, one of my friends, even my buddy that's a Sixers fan, like a diehard Sixers fan, was like, dude, I'm gonna be honest. Like I love watching the Thunder. Like so many people are loving watching the Thunder. So many people are rooting for them, even if their team, like the Thunder's people's number 2 team. Small market team, fun to watch, very marketable stars and SGA and Chet, and it's just like the turnaround. I think people are just like, it's just crazy to me that we're coasting going into the playoffs when last year we were fighting to get into the play-in. Even that jump is crazy.
It is wild because I was listening to the JJ Redick podcast, right? And with LeBron, and they talk about that for about 3 minutes plus about like, look at the jump. They and JJ and LeBron, they both said like they're playing the same way they played last year. You just insert Chet and you have a little bit more depth with Kaysen, right? It's the same team with those two guys inserted, right? And what's crazy is like LeBron was talking about how like they flare two guys out on a free throw and they sit in the corners and then they they bring their Chet gives it to Shea at the top of the key. Here comes Chet. They flare another wing out to do pick and roll, and then all of a sudden that wing has to hedge, and then there's Chet sitting right there in the like at the in the corner, not corner, but at the wing. And it's so, he goes, it is so hard to defend. It is so hard to defend. And here's the thing, they have a counter to what they're going to see in the playoffs to that. So I've seen them move with the ball. I've seen them cut. Like tonight, if Shea and J-Dub are in that game, Boston's defense was bad tonight.
Yeah.
They could not hit the broadside of the barn in the fourth quarter. The Thunder couldn't. And so their defense was bad. They were letting dudes slip on the pick and roll so easy tonight. Wide open dumps down low if J-Dub and Shea are in there. Like it looks like a completely different game. They were playing really high on the ball screens. And so they have counters for basically everything that the defenses want to do this year. But it's really fun, man. It's really fun. We are that darling and everything. It's a blast. I want to talk about the Stephon Diggs trade later.
Yes, we definitely will. The other thing, Troy, that we talked about last week for a while, but we need to bring it back up again. Since the All-Star break, not including tonight, there have been 21 games that the Thunder have played. Josh Giddey has played and started in 21 of those games. And he is 54.6 from the field, 38.6 from three-point range, averaging 14.6 rebounds and 5 assists. Like
he's not averaging 14.6 rebounds.
No, 14
No,
points.
14 points.
6 rebounds.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
5 assists, right? So, I mean, when you do the math, that's 25% of the season. That's a fourth of the season straight up in a row. And you know that my biggest complaint with Giddey has been he goes on a heat for 3 or 4 games and then he bottoms out and everybody looks at the numbers at the end of the month and goes, oh, well, he had a great month. And it's like, no, he didn't. He had an exceptional 7 or 8 games. He had a god-awful 6 or 7 games. And when you average it all out, it looks pretty decent. And we're trying to prop him up for that. But this is 21 games. And it has been very consistent throughout the entire run of this 21 games. This is a different Giddey than we have seen ever since he's been in a uniform. It's pretty remarkable, man. It's like a Monstar has jumped in and taken possession of Josh Giddey all of a sudden. It's ridiculous.
Well, I love the quote. I know you guys talk about this, but like the quote of him changing his mindset of how guys were guarding him. He was going to punish that now instead of just like has to hit every single three. I mean, that's really like that's the attitude you got to take, right? Like you punish them, right? He's big enough. He's smart enough. He's got enough touch around the rim where he can. So it's really cool to see him kind of flip the script a little bit. And when Shea and J-Dub are back, it takes a lot of pressure off of Chet from having to score. And so if Chet only scores, how many times have we won where Chet scores single digits?
Yeah.
Right. Quite a bit because, J-Dub and Shea are doing their thing. They're consistent. I'm going to call J-Dub basically an all-star now.
Yes.
He's playing at that level. And when Giddey plays at that third best player level, all of a sudden Chet can do what he wants. Anything we get
Yeah.
out of Chet is just it's just
Gravy.
bonus. And like if
Yeah.
you let him go, you start taking over games where the other three are doing their thing as well. Like here's toast. The opponent's toast. So what Chet's doing is so important to have that good that that mindset and that good run going into the playoffs. I think is huge because I think we're gonna have J Dub and Shea go nuclear in the first round.
Yeah. And then if you get this version of Giddy with that,
That's the point. Yeah.
dude, it's like if this is the norm for Giddy, and when I say this, I'm not even talking 54.6. I'm talking go down to 48% from the field. Like shoot 48% from the field and shoot 34% from three. Like total game changing moment right there. Like for this team. Like all of a sudden this team to me with that version of Giddy and what we're getting from J-Dub and SGA, this is not just a team that you think could win a first round. It should, and it should be really pushing to go deep in the playoffs, in my opinion, if they get this version of Giddy.
For this team, it depends on matchups, man. Depends on the matchups.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Jared, what do you think flipped for Giddy? Just the mindset that Troy's talking about, or
yeah, I mean, partially that we talked about, the personal stuff he was dealing with for a large part of the first half of the season, I think took a toll. I mean, and like people have to understand, I think the role he plays is more, well, what is it? It's more, it can be more affected by the chemistry, like the ingredients you add. By adding Chet, I think Giddy had to adjust to Chet being on the floor, right? And I think for him that affected him more than it would SGA or anybody else. So I think a lot of it's just him finding that rhythm. I mean, like I said, I think we can go a little bit on a limb and say that this isn't, like you said, this isn't a 6-game stretch or whatever. Like this is consistent after the All-Star game break. So I think him just kind of getting his feet set, getting, a little bit of time after the break to reset and kind of recalibrate and just getting in that rhythm again. I think he's kind of hitting his stride at the right time. I think that's it.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Troy, you talked about the playoffs are all about matchups. So this is the question that's starting to come up. And even tonight, we did a thing at church where we barbecued and we watched the Thunder game tonight for kind of just a guys fellowship night. One of the guys was like, yeah, they're obviously trying to lose to play the Pelicans. He was like straight up, he's like, they are sitting SGA and J-Dub so they get to play the Pelicans. That's who they want to play. So he's already thinking the whole matchup thing and all that. Who is your most want to play matchup and your least want to play matchup going into this playoff?
Most is probably the Warriors. I mean, if we're well, no, yeah, probably the Warriors over even the Pelicans. I know the Pelicans are taking a dive, and the Warriors are playing better, but at the same time, like the Warriors are 10th for a reason in the standings.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I would then least. I hate the Lakers, but it's the Lakers. It's the Lakers because of the matchups. Just because of the matchups. I'm not going to give LeBron any kudos. It's just because basically AD.
Yeah, for sure. Jared, who is your I don't want to play and I do want to play in round one?
I gotta go with Troy. I think the Warriors. I honestly, I don't know that I can disagree with Troy. Actually, you know what? I'll go different. I'll say
you could agree. What's wrong with agreeing?
I'll put it this way. I'll agree, but I'll make a different choice. That would have been my choice. If I had been asked first. But for the sake of the pod, I'll do something different.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go want to play. I will say the Suns.
Wow.
I think I just feel like I just feel like that's a team that they could get by. I just think they play well. I mean, there's no other way to put it really.
They're sandbagging, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but I also feel like I don't know. I just think that's a team that they. It's not a great matchup, but it's not terrible. I think that's a team that if you put the Thunder up against them, they are going to want to dominate even more, right? I think a team like that, people are going to be like, "Oh, this is going to be a close matchup, whatever." And I think that's going to maybe hopefully elevate. That's the sunshine pumping in me. I think that's going to elevate the Thunder actually. And the team I don't want to play, and again, probably controversial. I'm going to say the Mavericks. Um, just because the Mavericks are super scrappy. You never, honestly, you just don't know what you're going to get with the Mavericks, especially when they play the Thunder. So it's been it's been that series because what they've had. I think the Dallas it's like they have a game they won by 30 points, and then the Thunder have a game they won by 30 points. Like you just don't know. Like that just feels like a coin flip of a game. Um, I think the matchup isn't terrible. It's just one of those games where it's like one team seems to elevate and the other one doesn't night to night when they've played previously. So I'm gonna go Mavericks as my other one, just to pick different. But I do agree with you, Troy. Your picks are my number one and number two. Like those would have been my two picks otherwise.
Like mines, brother. Like
Yeah.
mines.
I mean, the Lakers are it. The map, I would agree with you, Jared. Right behind them is the Mavericks. Those two teams, for whatever reason, the Thunder just don't. I mean, the Lakers, it's size and athleticism. They just don't have to match up with, and so they get abused on the boards. They get abused all in the paint with LeBron and AD. And then with the Dallas, man, let's just be honest. You have two of the most lethal scorers in the NBA with Kyrie and Luka. And, you know, those two guys get hot for 4 games, it's just over. I mean, those are the kind of guys that you can literally be tackling and they can still make shots. And so that becomes a really tough matchup. Most want to play. Yeah, I'd say the Warriors. I mean, to me, I just feel like the Warriors and the Thunder play very similar styles of basketball, but Clay is not the Clay that he once was. Draymond's not the Draymond he once was. I just think the Thunder are younger and more talented. And I think through a 7-game series, they'd be able to match up extremely well
I
against the Warriors.
I think Draymond's already focusing on his career in the WWE anyway. So
That's fair. Troy, anything else about the Thunder that stood out to you since you've been on the pod a month ago?
No, we got a lot. We got a lot to talk about once playoffs hit. Then it's all
Then it's
hands
all
on
Thunder.
deck.
All
Troy
right.
better be on the pod then, because we're gonna need you, buddy.
Yeah.
It depends if we're winning or losing. I'll
No,
be
you're
honest
gonna
with you.
suck it up and be a big boy,
I
be an
can't.
adult, Troy.
I am not an adult. You know me. My emotions get way too invested. That's why I made that bet with Tyler. That's why I made that bet with Tyler because, Jared, if for you don't know, Tyler asked the group. He was like, "I'll make a bet with anybody that the Thunder win their first round." I was like, "I'll take that bet. I'll say the Thunder lose the first round."
So at
The
least you have that
only
out.
reason
Yeah,
I
that
have
out.
a hedge, it's my hedge, right? Like I am vested emotionally in this season. I want something if we lose, so I will make him buy me a garlic fried rice from Tamashi's meal.
It's a great decision right there.
So that's the
Well,
only reason I want something.
speaking of emotions running people, one of the things that can really stir your emotions is gambling on sports, as we see with Troy admitting right now, and it is taking over the sports world right now. You got to think that Pete Rose kind of enjoys seeing.
Oh no, you saw he made a clip.
No, I did
He
not. I
made a
missed it.
video. He made a
When?
video where
How did
he
I
made a
miss
comment about
this?
it. Literally the day the Otani stuff broke.
No,
I don't remember what it
completely.
was, but he threw shade at Major League Baseball about it.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah, so
and then the Thompson kid too, right, is being investigated right now in the NBA.
yeah.
Um as well. Because an absurd amount of money came in for the under of his minutes played in a game as a prop bet and it hit. And so there dude, it's getting wild with all that stuff. I mean, extremely, extremely wild.
It's sports betting is becoming a bigger and bigger thing. They're obviously having to put guardrails. I saw a deal the other day that like even some of the states are like completely banning, like if you're a college athlete at all, like you can't, because like it's really weird. Like I was reading an article that was talking about how basically the way the laws were written in some states or whatever that already have like legal sports betting or whatever. It's like, okay, you're a football, like you play football, so you can't bet on football, but you could go bet on the men's basketball game or
Mhm.
whatever. And like now they're having to put restrictions on that because it's like, how do you think they have inside information?
Well, as I say, well,
Like,
it doesn't matter if they're an NCAA team though, because the NCAA has their own rules within their organization that say you cannot sports bet, period,
yeah.
on any college sport whatsoever. So, but yeah, it's crazy how it's influencing everything. It's pretty wild. The other thing that's been wild in sports was Troy. Did you watch Iowa LSU?
I did actually.
They said that was the most
12.3.
watched 12.3 million. They said it's the most watched women's basketball game ever, I think.
Well,
That is,
I only watched because I was scrolling Twitter when it was on and everybody was talking about it. So I was like, all right, I got to see what Clark's doing.
it was a phenomenal game, by the way. 45 at half. It was awesome. And it was two heavyweight players in Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese just going back and forth making
Dude, did
plays.
you I gotta give it to, did you see Acho's little thing about
Yes.
I
Yes.
actually was like, he made a very good point. Like, you're gonna stand on that big boy box and try to
Yeah.
talk trash.
Of course, it's drawing
What?
controversy from every corner as
Basically,
well.
I mean, like just I know Drew controversy. I agree with it. I'll go out there. People can hate me on Twitter. Basically, he said if you're gonna the TLDR, you're gonna talk trash and you're gonna act like you're the big baddie. You can't try to turn around and cry on TV because you lost. Like you took the L, take it on the chin,
Are you
which is
talking about Angel Reese when she was
yeah,
in her post
Yeah.
game, like whining,
yeah,
like I'm a human being. I haven't been happy, since we won the national championship, and like playing the victim card after the
yeah,
loss.
yeah.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you. Totally agree.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I agree. I guess the controversy is we shouldn't be shaming her for whatever, but it's like, bro, like you literally all she's done is talk smack for an entire year. You know, you have to own that. There's a price tag that comes with that. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's my take. Get mad at me.
If yeah, and that's the part that I mean, we won't know this for sure, but it does. It feels like if she would have won the game, she'd have been just as loud and just as out there and talking and doing. And look,
It's let me let
I
me
will
let
say
me
that, and here's the other side of it that does make me mad. Caitlin Clark is as much of a punk as Angel Reese is. I think they're both punks when it comes to the way they handle themselves, the way that they handle losing, their mouthiness, all the stuff. They're equal. And this is where it all got blown out of proportion last year was everybody getting mad at Angel Reese for all of her stuff when Caitlin Clark had been doing that stuff for months and everybody was talking about how cool it looked. It's the and it really is kind of the Baker Mayfield side of things, right? Like we loved the Baker planting the flag, all the stuff, right? When you're on the other end of it, you don't love it. But like the one thing you can say about Baker is he's been a big boy about it. When people have come after him, he sits and he takes his stuff and
well
he moves
I
along.
and that's my thing. This isn't an Angel Reese. Like this is literally anybody. If you're gonna
Right.
talk up and act like the big boy and the big baddie,
Yep.
you gotta act like it from start to finish. You gotta sit there and you gotta take you on the chin.
Yep.
And it is what it is. But I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. But
And Caitlin Clark
yeah,
is
it was
much
really
is must watch TV. I mean,
yeah.
that girl's
Hey,
a baller.
let's talk about something controversial.
Oh boy.
I, all this
I already
talk,
know where this is going. I already know
all this
this is
talk, like
going.
the Pistons should take her and everything.
No.
How y'all feel about this?
No.
Dude,
Somebody
dude,
asked the
she
other
would
day how many points would she score in an NBA game? Like 3.
No, she would like if she got 3 free throws.
Like I saw, who was it? Is it Ice Cube that does the three
No,
lead or
or is
whatever,
it?
the big three
Yeah,
or
the big 3. Yeah.
whatever. He offered her $3 million to come play in the big three, or something like that, or $5 million, whatever it was. And dude, like, she's not going to take it because she knows, like, much as she wants to prove people wrong. Like, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
This is the same thing that happened when
the tricky part is, though, I will say this: she can shoot. Period. That's why I say she'd score 3 points.
100%.
They would set a play up where they put screens on her all the way around, and she gets a ball, she turns around and she shoots and she hits a 3-pointer. Like, that's the thing. She's not going to take anybody off the dribble. She's not going to be going to the lane. Like, her gig is going to be someone else getting her open so that she can hit a 3-point shot. But she's not going to
Imagine
be
her on defense.
And right. And you're going to.
Well, that's to say. This is the same argument that happened. I don't remember who it was. It was like back in where somebody made a comment about Serena Williams and Venus Williams and how
Yes,
they wouldn't be able to compete with the 700th ranked men's player.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody just absolutely. And then Serena came out and said the exact same thing. She said, I can't compete with the men.
Yeah.
It's different. It's a different game. And it's the same thing. We can
100%.
look at Caitlin. This is what frustrates me. We can look at Caitlin Clark and be like, it is a masterpiece what she's able to do with her shooting.
Yes.
She's an exceptional athlete, and everybody should take a moment to watch her and recognize her and
Mm-hmm.
give her recognition. And then also say, if you put LeBron guarding her, she's not going to a point.
Look,
as much as we hate LeBron.
Look, it's the same thing.
Another great example.
It's the same thing as a kid in high school being an all-state football player at a high level of high school football, and he'll never play in college. Like,
Right.
That's what it is. Like,
remember when the
level.
United States women's national team for soccer played a 14-year-old, 14 or 15-year-old high school soccer team and got whooped.
Yeah.
Whooped. They stopped after halftime because they were down like 8-1.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's shade at them. It's just the reality of the situation.
Shade. That's what people misunderstand. It is no shade, period.
No. I can't do what Caitlin Clark does, but I also can't play in the NBA. The guys that can play in the NBA would absolutely destroy her. Period.
Here, I'm gonna get us off this subject, and I'm gonna give you a beautiful segue.
Okay.
Take a contract to go play for the Bills because they got no money left. They're literally trying to figure things out.
They don't have money. They don't have money.
Josh Allen's going to be thrown to the water boy at this point. I mean,
They don't,
I feel can we take a step back? I'm a big Josh Allen fan. Just like I'm not a Bills fan or anything. I just like Josh Allen. It sucks because like he's literally in like his last few years of being at peak, and his team is imploding. Like they are going to be terrible next year.
Yeah. And this is and here's the deal. Quarterbacks, you need to follow the example of the one and only Tom Brady, who didn't have to have the number 1 contract as a quarterback, and it's the reason he's the GOAT. It is the reason he's on every sports talk show that can make a spot for him, every podcast, everything. Because he didn't take the max amount of money and eat up everything in a salary cap league because he knew he needed pieces to win, and these guys can't figure it out.
What is the only quarterback in the modern history or a modern game that has won a Super Bowl taking 30% or more of the team's cap?
This year with Patrick.
The last 2 years, because it hit last year.
Oh, his contract started last year. Okay.
Yeah. So the last 2 years, Patty Mahomes is the only one. And then and what did he do? He realized they actually weren't. They were good. They won the Super Bowl, right? But he's like, we need more. So what did he do? He deferred a lot of his money to later on and sign-on bonus, so it freed up a lot of cap room for them to go sign players.
That's what's funny is I know people that hate the Patriots, hate Tom Brady, whatever. And that's what Brady did. He took a lot of like signing bonus stuff and a lot of
Yep.
like
Yep.
he found a way to game the system where he still got paid. Don't get me wrong. He was still
Yeah.
He
the
made good money,
best paid quarterback.
but he was never the highest paid quarterback. Matter of fact,
Nope.
I don't believe he was ever top 5. Until he went
Yeah.
to Tampa Bay, he was never a top 5 paid quarterback. Like,
Yeah.
All right. Who is the number one? This is wild. All right. Let's just go through the list real quick. Who's the highest paid quarterback in football right now?
is it still Hurts? Hurts is 2.
Hurts is 4.
4th now? Holy cow.
Wait, wait, was it this year that
This
Lamar
is
got his
updated
new contract?
this is updated as of like 2 days today.
Hurts is up there. Mahomes is
Jackson?
up there.
Lamar is
Lamar.
3.
Uh-huh.
Who'd you say?
Mahomes.
Mahomes and Hurts.
Hang on.
Mahomes is 7th.
Jeez.
And we all agree he should be number 1.
Yes.
Kirk Cousins.
No, but that dude has by far the best
He's
agent
got
of
some
all
good stuff.
time.
It's not.
Russell Wilson. Is he up there?
No.
Well, he's still getting paid $30-something million by the Broncos.
Yeah, but
That
like
doesn't 30 million doesn't even
50
crack the top 10 anymore.
50 million. Yeah, it's
Sure.
50 million plus. Hurts, Lamar, who am I forgetting has signed a big?
You said it's not Josh Allen?
No, Josh Allen's 9th. He actually makes $2 million less than Patty Mahomes and Kirk Cousins.
Well, no, it's not Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's still living with a roommate.
No.
Yeah, I mean he's on his rookie contract. That was a joke.
I'll tell you this.
Oh,
AFC.
Dak is.
No, it's not Dak. Dak is
Uh-uh.
10th. Dak has the same salary as Daniel Jones.
Same
That'll
performance
play.
too. It's got to be somebody way off. The number one's got to be
No,
AFC.
No, y'all, you're being really dumb about this.
I know. Burrow.
Yes,
Burrow's a top quarterback,
Burrow's number 1 at $55 million a year,
and that sucks because he was hurt this year too. I mean,
Yeah.
and number 2, same division as Patty Mahomes. Who's the last quarterback standing outside of Mahomes in that division? Come on, y'all.
Don't know.
Herbert.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
So he's number 2. Joe, Justin, Burrow, Herbert, Lamar, Jalen, Kyler at 5.
5. Yeah.
The worst contract in sports history.
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson at 6. Then Kirk Cousins, Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones. That's your top 10.
Wow.
Can I just say? I know this is a long ways out. There's a lot that's going to happen this season. If Baker goes and wins another playoff game and the Browns don't, I'm going to be that dude that's got Buccaneers flags all over my front yard. I'm going to be wearing merch. I'm going to have like a jersey. I'm going to be full Bucks, dude. I mean, good Lord.
We've got to give the floor to Troy. He has wanted to talk about Stefon Diggs and this trade to the Texans all day long. I've been trying to suck it out of him. Diggs. So. What?
All right, Daryl. Nothing. You said something there that was completely inappropriate. Okay, completely inappropriate. You'll play it back. If you play it back, you'll hear it. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get myself together. All right. So here's how I think the Stefon Diggs thing.
I just figured out what it was.
Sorry.
Oh, geez.
I'm a child. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
girl.
you are.
So here's stop it, Jay. So here's the thing with Stephon Diggs trade. Okay. Yes, he was their best wide receiver, bar none, no question. Right. They're taking a 30 mil cap hit. When you told me that, Daryl, I totally forgot about that. And I'm almost like, well, maybe I don't have a point at all here.
You
Because
don't have a point, but I want to hear you try to tell me how this is a great idea that they've traded. So
no, I don't think it's a great idea. I think it's a blessing in disguise because Diggs has not been happy for 2-3 years now. Period. He hasn't. We've seen it. We've seen it, and then they talk it back, right? Oh, it's just him being competitive. He loves his teammates. All right, shut up. We know he's not happy. We know he wants the ball more, even though he's the most targeted player in the NFL. Whatever. The other thing is, watch this year. The dude started to take it last year. He's 30 years old. They're getting rid of dead weight now. Okay. And so they can bring somebody in, they can draft a good wide receiver, a Dunze or somebody like that, whoever, right? Go get somebody that they can turn into the next star without Stephon Diggs saying, I've got to be that dude every single play. I don't think he's got it in him anymore at 30 years old. I really don't. So I think that it could be a blessing in disguise. When you told me the 30 mil cap hit, I was like, well, that sucks. From the Texans standpoint, it's a fantastic trade. You do that trade all day long.
Yes.
Unbelievable. But from a fantasy standpoint, I don't want any of those 3 wide receivers really.
Right.
Because like their wide receiver core might be the best in football now. With Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and oh my gosh, who am I forgetting? Oh my gosh. Freaking A. He's good. Whatever. There's a third one that's really good, y'all. Anywho, Mixon in the backfield, the Texans got Willie Anderson, rookie defensive player of the year. They're loaded. Not to mention the dude that could have won an MVP last year with CJ.
Yeah.
But I just think you do that trade if you're the Texans. But I also think from the Bills, it's like, all right, let's start afresh with Josh. Let's see what we got here.
Tank Dell.
Thank you. Those 3 are really good. And Jared, I don't think they're going to be awful. I don't. They still have a lot. They still have a lot in the tank here. I think what's his face? The running back. God, I am losing all freaking names today. What's the running back name?
Singletary? Cook?
No, it's not Singletary.
Is it?
Yeah, James Cook. James Cook had a nice season last year where they started to implement him as more of a featured back. He was really nice. Like, then you've obviously got Josh that can win you a lot of games. If he stops turning the ball over, he can win you even more. But I think it could be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I disagree.
I mean, I just you don't think it's a blessing in disguise?
No. But go ahead.
Why do you look so confused on that, Jared? Like he disagrees with me all the time.
Yeah, well, I'm not confused about that. It's just my brother's an idiot. So no, I just think this year the NFL is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Is all I'm saying. Like the Texans look like a legit team, and again, coming into this season, what were we talking about? Like, coming into this NFL season, everybody was like having talks about, are they going to be one of the top picks in the draft? Like, people thought they were going to be still terrible, right? And that now they're literally, like, when you look at their roster again, it's on paper. We haven't seen anything this season. They've done nothing but get better. I don't know how they would be worse.
Right.
So that's interesting for them. And then, like I said, you have teams like the Ravens. I know we've talked about this already, but Lamar and Derrick Henry out of the same backfield. If the Ravens can even get a half decent offensive line, bro, like that's terrifying. I know Troy's
game is on point.
Yeah,
yep.
That's literally going to be Madden is going to be fun to play next year. Madden 25 might actually be fun. They can do nothing to the game. They won't do anything to the game.
There is no sports game outside of NCAA football. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, dude, Troy, we've already talked. By the way, we've got to do like if they're going to have Online Dynasty, they have to.
Yes. Yeah.
And we all have to do it. And we have to set it up. where we all have like we can't pick OU and stuff. Like we have to pick like
How
a
many-
1-star program.
How many dynasties am I going to be in?
You're going to be in like
Dang
15.
thing.
Okay, back to your blessing in disguise. You just gave up $30 million of cap space because you don't know that if you'd have done this trade at a different point in time, you could have saved half that money. At the same time, you lost safety Jordan Poyer, cornerback Travion White, center Mitch Morse, wide receiver Gabriel Davis, linebacker Tyrell Dotson, and linebacker Leonard Floyd. You've lost half of your defensive starters. You just lost your 2 best wide receivers. And then you gave up $30 million and 2 draft picks that you should be using to try to rebolster your offense and your roster back together. And all you got back was a second rounder. And we want to call this a blessing in disguise. I get what you're saying as far as he hasn't been happy and he's probably been a cancer in the locker room. But I'm sorry, when you are losing literally 5 of your starters on defense and a safety or your wide receiver, and now you're basically giving up quarterback money because you couldn't work out a deal in a time frame that would have saved you money. This is not a blessing in disguise. This is a mismanaged football team is what it is. It's a mismanaged football team that's going to struggle to put a roster together to compete.
I'm sticking to my guns. Okay, you can't sway me. Can't do it.
I mean, this would be the thing that would take what Sam Presti has done all the last several years and everybody put him automatically in the idiot category over this one decision of, oh, if you'd have done this 3 weeks ago, it would have been a $10 million hit, but you didn't want to get a deal done until now for a second round pick for one of the most prolific wide receivers in the last 5 years. And so you waited and lost $30 million while you're at it and sent them some picks to go with it. Good job, Bills GM. I mean, it literally feels like the Bills GM is about to like take the Houston GM job. Is what it feels like. He's got a backdoor deal to the owner of, here, let me ship all this stuff to you, a player and some picks, and then you fire your guy and I'll be there next week to take all these picks and players and put it all together. It's ridiculous. It is poor. This is the kind of stuff the Browns would do, is what this is. Now, if they'd have done it in the time frame to save the cap space and to give us a 4th and a 5th instead of a higher round, give us more picks because we've got to rebuild this thing. You got 1 pick and you gave up 2. Like, you didn't win anything in this trade other than a happier locker room. That's your win.
All right.
Cool. Anyway, so yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be exciting. All I'm saying is the draft. I'm actually hyped for the draft this year. And the NFL is just as like sports is good right now, guys. Sports is good.
I actually agree with you on this whole thing, Daryl. Like, I'm just giving you crap, but like, I was trying to think of a different way to look at it. And I agree with you.
We refuse to agree with you.
No.
I mean, I'm with you, Troy, though. I thought get rid of the cancer, it's addition by subtraction. But then when I saw what they got, what they gave up, and then the cap hit, it was just like, what are y'all doing? Like,
It's not good.
it just doesn't make sense. Like,
That makes
and now
sense.
I think somebody Schefter was saying today, because of that, they are only, with all those losses, they are 4 million under the cap. That's
Yeah.
all they have under the cap.
They have to.
$4 million. Like,
Who's okay, but who's managing their things worse? The Bills or the Broncos?
the Broncos weren't much better.
I think the Broncos were worse, personally, but yeah.
All right. I gotta get up. I gotta get up at 5:30. Can I get off the podcast now?
Okay. Hey, by the way, Troy, sometime we need to text about Shogun because I'm watching it right now. I know you've been watching it.
It is good. It is very good. I just watched 3 Body Problem on Netflix.
Also good. Also good.
3
Very good.
episodes into The Gentleman. I'll let you know when I finish, but so far it's been decent. It's been pretty decent.
Sweet.
So All right.
F1's racing at Japan. We talked about that too. So yeah, they're racing at Japan this week.
Troy's going to bed. I'm going to bed. Jared's going to bed. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Again, please like, subscribe, follow, do all the different things. We hope you are having a good time because we know that we are each and every week. I am Daryl. That's Troy. That's Jared. And we will talk to you guys later.
Bob Baker.